I'd written several books about how it was men who sexually abused, and maybe only 5% of abusers ever would be women. And I remember a summer radio time program. In the summer, they're desperate for something to talk about, and everybody's out of town anyway, so this one presenter rang me up and he said, "Come on and talk to me about any cases of female sexual abuse you might have." Well, at that point I only had maybe 10 or 11 or 12, I can't remember. So I went on this program and I talked about women abusing, and it opened up a floodgate. We had tons of telephone calls into the program from adults who thought they were the only ones. And then by the time I got back to my office, we had even more. And it kind of was a snowball effect. It was like when we first started talking about sexual abuse at all, when the adults would say, "I never knew it happened to anybody else. I didn't know that, my dad or my uncle or somebody abused me. I didn't know anybody else did this." Same thing was happening with women. It was men and women ringing, saying, "I was abused by my mother, by my aunt, by a nun, by a teacher, by, all kinds of different people." I was shocked. I don't expect women to sexually abuse. I really, really thought it was a tiny, tiny problem. At one point after This Morning program, ages ago, and again in the 90s, we talked about it on that program, and they had 1,000 phone calls. They had 1,000 phone calls in one day. They couldn't even cope with them all. And that happened, and the reason I say that is because that was morning television from people who happened to be listening, who managed to call in. The 800 cases I've got, I'm just one person. Now, we're not a big organization. We don't have a huge profile. These are the people who've managed to get to me. Therefore, I think that there are a lot more out there.